Minnesota. We bring seniors 50 plus together.
Learn about and discuss issues that are important to Minnesotans. Hear from our elected officials and experts on public policy.
Meet political candidates, elect delegates to district and state conventions, and help elect Republicans to office at all levels.
We believe in and advocate for the principles of personal responsibility, economic prosperity, peace through strong national defense,
and limited, sensible government. Republican Seniors of Minnesota, thanks for joining us.
This meeting is being live streamed today and also recorded by our volunteers. A few quick courtesy announcements. Please turn off your cell phone so that we don't disturb the speakers or your fellow guests. Take side conversations out of the room. Those east doors can be closed if you need to have a brief side conversation. Wait for the microphone. We will have opportunities for you to ask questions and for you to introduce yourself for new visitors. Wait for the microphone. We have 2 microphones. It will be coming to you. This is a large room. Even though you think you have a booming voice, you don't. It just gets swallowed by the room. The area closest to the beverage table over here is off camera. So if you are handed the microphone, please move a little more towards the center so people on the video can see as well as hear you. Sound check. How's our sound level? People in the back able to hear? Greg? Okay? Okay. If at any time you're not able to hear, wave your hand vigorously. Mike Lehman, our past chair, is up here working our soundboard, and he will try to make adjustments so that you are able to hear. Please join me in an opening prayer. Gracious God, we thank you for this opportunity to gather for a meeting. We thank you for our veterans who fought to defend the American ideals of liberty and justice for all. Help us to support all those who have sworn to protect and defend the Constitution with our own efforts to ensure that America remains a place of opportunity and freedom. Please bless our speakers this day. Help them to communicate clearly the knowledge they have to share. We pray for those in government. Grace them with your guidance and give them courage to do what is right. We pray for our candidates who are seeking government office. Keep them and their volunteers safe as they meet with and educate voters. Open the hearts and minds of voters to consider who best reflects their values. We thank you for each and every one who is here today. Grant each of us the strength and determination to take action and make a difference, using fully the skills and the lifetime you have given to us. Amen. We'd like to acknowledge our military veterans and active or retired police officers and first responders. Will those people please stand and be recognized? And now will the rest of you stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Be seated. If you have a brief 30-second announcement, we will have time just before the door prize drawing for you to make those announcements. You are welcome to stay after the meeting and continue conversations. We have the room until about noon. We're signing up volunteers to help the staff the MNGOP booth at the State Fair. There's a clipboard on each side that is going around. Senior Day this year is August 26th. That's a Monday. We are sharing the staffing of the booth with 2 other affiliates that day, the Hispanic Republican Assembly and the Republican Labor Alliance. There are 3 shifts. There's an early morning shift. The noon to 4 shift has already been filled, and the evening shift starts at 4 to 8. Early voting for the August 13th primary has already started. It started on June 28th, both for in-person absentee balloting, and early voting, and mail-in absentee balloting. If you want to do direct ballot early voting, as in you fill it out and put it into a tabulator machine before Election Day, that date to start doing that is July 26th. Make a plan to bank your vote. Vote early. We have many of you, I know, are election judges and are familiar with early voting. This is a chance for the rest of us to get familiar with the process before the November election. It helps Republican candidates free up their time and their resources to not be recruiting and contacting people who have already voted. So you can help save money, help save yourself time, and get some good practice for November. Your help is still requested. On the third Thursday each month, our group gets together at the MNGOP offices and stuffs envelopes with the PCR receipts that are mailed out. We were a little short in June, and a couple of us worked some extra days to make that up. So we need about 12 volunteers is best. We had a great time when we had 30 there that one day. But if you can make the time to do that, I have the sign-up sheet here. July 18th from 9:30 to 11:30 is our next date. Each of the congressional districts are asking for a Republican senior to sit on their executive board, and we are still looking for people willing to do that for CD1, CD4, CD5, CD7, and CD8. So please see me or send me an email via our website. Let me know if you're willing to serve in that capacity. And Center of American Experiment probably will have information about this. I also have brochures up here. Did you know that 90% of young people in Minnesota expect their economic future to be worse than that of their parents? Center of American Experiment is doing a series of presentations around the metro area. The two closest to us will be July 18th in Edina and July 24th in Lakeville. A quick announcement that our Republican Seniors Board has changed. Karen Lands notified us that she and her family are relocating out of state, and according to our Constitution that was passed in April, the board is able to nominate and select someone to fill the term interim until next April when we do a general election for the board. Our thanks to Karen for her work, and welcome to Scott Graham, who you'll see walking the microphone around a little later today. He's over there. Scott will take over that responsibility of venues and meeting for our board. First up on our speaking agenda today, we're going to hear from several endorsed Republican candidates. Each will have 3 minutes to speak and 1 minute for Q&A for the group. Our board secretary up here, Al Murahoff, will have little signs for you candidates. So they'll count down from 3, 2, 1 for your 3 minutes, and then we'll have a minute or so for question and answer afterwards. And our first speaker will be Stacy. Yes? We'll have introductions of newcomers at the end of the meeting. Thank you. Our first political speaker is Stacy Bettison, who's running for Minnesota House of Representatives to serve District 49A, that's Eden Prairie and Minnetonka. Her website is www.stacybettison.com. And Stacy, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Republican seniors of Minnesota. I am very grateful to have been invited here today, and I know I have 3 minutes, and I'm going to get to the point and be very brief. My name is Stacy Bettison. As you know, I am running for the Minnesota House of Representatives in Eden Prairie and Minnetonka, so the northern side of Eden Prairie and Minnetonka. That is District 49A. I am a mother to 3. I have lived in Eden Prairie for 14 years. I am an attorney, and I'm also a small business owner. I am a part-time public defender in Veterans Treatment Court. So I have a roster of clients who are veterans who have become justice involved, and I serve them in getting through the diversion program. and then I also own a small PR firm. I am running because I care deeply about our communities. I'm concerned about our children and the state of education in this state. I'm concerned about taxes, and I'm generally concerned about the economy in this state, particularly because we are taxing the living daylights out of our citizens, and we are taxing the living daylights out of our business. And it is dismantling our economy. It is creating inflation. And my top priority is sound fiscal policy. We need to be better stewards of taxpayer money. I firmly believe that, and thank you. Yes, applause. We need to do better by our kids. We need to fund schools and let school districts and teachers run the show. We also need to lower taxes. We are among the highest in the country for income taxes, and come on, we can do better than that. We need to be better stewards. Here's what I would say. I need help in District 49A. We have two things that we really need help with. One is we need support with fundraising and funds. We cannot win 49A and get another Republican in the House, me, unless we have adequate resources. And campaigns cost money. I have envelopes at the back table. I ask for your support, whatever you can do. Please consider it. And then the second is, if you have an interest in volunteering, I would love to have you work on our campaign, door knocking if you're able, phone calling if you're able, and get out the vote. Thank you so much for being here, and also thank you to our vets for your service. Any questions? Yes. Yes, I have a website, and yes, I have a phone number. I have information at the back, on the back table. But my website is stacybettison.com. Yep. Thanks for asking that. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Our next speaker is Dalia Al-Aqidi. Dalia is the endorsed Republican CD5 Congressional candidate who is running against Ilhan Omar. Yeah. Dalia.
Good morning. I'm so excited and I'm so honored to be here, and I know I have 3 minutes, so let me tell you. My name is Dalia, D-A-L-I-A. I have no idea why the H wasn't there. I've been a journalist for 36 years. I've covered war zones, I've covered terrorist attacks all over the world, so I'm very strong on foreign policies, on illegal immigrants. I am an immigrant, but I came legally to the United States in 1993. I waited with my family like millions of immigrants, but what's happening on our borders is very unacceptable. And I'm very, very strong against illegal immigrants, against crimes in our district. Let me tell you, we need to be very active, and this cycle is very different. We need to vote, number one, to vote for the primary. So many Republicans are voting against Ilhan Omar, voting for her opponent, which is the biggest mistake that us Republicans will be doing, and I'll tell you why. Number one is we're not changing policies. I'm not running against Ilhan Omar because she is Ilhan Omar. I'm running against her policies. Don Samuel, he says that his policies are exactly like Ilhan Omar. So what we're doing is we're lowering the volume of Don Samuel, and we're keeping that 5th district the same with the same policies. On the contrary, we can beat Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar is hated not because she's a Muslim or an immigrant or anything else. She has bad policies, and she does not love America. I'm running not because I'm an immigrant or anything else. I'm running because I'm a very proud American. I do need your help. If we want to flip Minnesota red, the votes come from the 5th District. You might not live in my district. However, you have friends. You can help me. Spread the word. Go to daliaforcongress.org. You'll learn more about me and what I stand for. And I have a chance for one reason, because I believe in this country. And I want to defend this country that I love the most, that gave me the freedom and gave me wings to fly. So please, we need your help. We as a campaign. I have a great team. We're doing great work, but I cannot do it alone. It's you that I need. Thank you very much. Again, daliaforcongress.org. And if you have any question, I'm ready to hear it. Here. Crime? Crime is number one in the challenges that we're facing in the 5th District. We have crime, we have the liberal lefts that are turning our district into just a crime and an open field for any criminal, and that is very important. I live in the North Loop, which is 1 minute away from downtown. I cannot walk anymore after 7 or 8 p.m. So crime is number one in our district, and we need to change that.
Are you going door to door with your campaign?
We are doing anything and everything we could do. Yes, we are. Yeah, absolutely. And some people, let me tell you, liberals are sick and tired of the liberal policies in our state, and especially in our district. So they are willing to listen. And I'm so happy that I have a wonderful team with me and volunteers.
Am I the only one that believes that fatherlessness is a huge problem with inner city crime?
Absolutely.
And can we,
No,
as a
you're
party,
not the only one.
bring back fatherless in the home? That way, you don't have young people going out, joining gangs and shooting each other up.
We need law in our streets. We do need it,
We
not
need
only in our district, but everywhere.
Fathers. We need fathers.
We need parents to be involved back in the children's life and education. We cannot allow them to push the parents away from schools. That's what we need.
Hello.
Yes.
I just heard Don Samuels on WCCA radio when I was driving in, and he said Ilhan Omar's funding is 92% out of state. Is that correct?
It is out of state, and it's even foreign money. But the thing is, they are so good in doing that. They funnel the money through NGOs like CARE, for example. But the problem is, it is so hard to prove. So when we say something and we can't prove it, nobody would believe it. But that's what they're doing. It's through NGOs. Can I ask you all a question? Will you support me? Thank you all.
Our final political speaker this morning is Tad Jude. Tad is the endorsed Republican candidate for U.S. Congress, House of Representatives, from CD3. Dean Phillips, the current representative, chose not to run. So Tad's opponent is Kelly Morrison, who resigned from her Minnesota Senate seat to run for this office. His website is tadjude.com. Welcome, Tad.
Thank you, Carol. I'd like to thank everybody for being here this morning and for what you are doing for the candidates. We've been out there door knocking, going to parades, going to events throughout the 3rd District, and the winds of change are out there. I can tell that the 3rd District will be red this November 5th. It's a district that elected Bill Frenzel. It's a district that elected Jim Ramstad. It's a district that elected Eric Paulson. And people are fed up. We're going to make illegal immigration illegal again. We're going to make crime illegal again. And we're going to make the American dream something within reach again. And if you look at what Minnesota government has been doing with federal money, if you look at Southwest Light Rail, you'll be looking at it a long time. I don't know when it's going to start. It hasn't been managed at all. If you look at what happened with trying to feed children that don't have food, it didn't get there. If you look at what happened with Hero Pay, they are paying people who are gone, who are dead. And if you look at Washington right now, I have to say I agree with Dean Phillips on something. We desperately need a new president. And the winds of change are out there, and you're at the front lines. You're here in the trenches. You've given money. You've gone to parades. We've got plenty of signs. You've got some good Republican candidates that will make the American dream possible again. So thank you for being here. We need your help. All these races are close. I think we have a great opportunity this November to bring it home. So thank you. Questions?
Hi, thanks. Question. On your website, which I'm sure you'll give us, will you be having the parades you'll be in? Because some of us might want to walk with you. So.
Absolutely. We were at the Edina parade. I thought it was a really good reception at Edina. It's an area that's primed to come over. We're going to be in Maple Grove on Thursday night. We'll be in Hamel. If anybody wants to go up to Hamel, I believe on Saturday. And we've got parades in Mound, we've got parades in Wayzata, we've got parades throughout the 3rd District. The 3rd District is western Hennepin County, a little bit of Anoka County. But it's absolutely a swing area.
Yes, I've not been on your website, so I'm not aware of your background. How are you qualified in the political arena that assures us that you can get the job done? I'm a very positive thinker on this. I just think we need to be informed. Those of us who...
the website is tadjude.com, TADJUDE.com, and I have been in elected office before. I've been a district court judge for 11 years. That's the most recent job. I was a Hennepin County Commissioner for 4 years, and I was in the state legislature for 16. And conservative. Absolutely. We're going to win. So thank you very much for inviting us to be here this morning.
Thank you very much, Tad, Dalia, and Stacy, for meeting with the Republican seniors. We appreciate you taking the time to come visit with us. I mentioned that Wendy Russo, who is running in Eden Prairie on 49B, was initially scheduled to be here today. She had to work, so she'll be here in September. And now I would like Barbara Leonard to come forward. Barbara is our past board secretary and current social media volunteer. She'll introduce our featured speaker. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, Carol. Yeah, I do the Facebook page for our group, and I just want you all to know that if you haven't gone to Facebook and liked our page yet, we're all talking about you behind our backs. So please do that. But Bill Walsh is currently the Director of Marketing and Communications at the Center of the American Experiment. Prior to joining the American Experiment, Bill worked for 25 years in a variety of political and communications positions with the Minnesota legislature, both in the Senate and in the House. He worked at the headquarters office at the Republican Party of Minnesota and as communications director for 2 different state agencies in the Tim Pawlenty administration. Walsh has a Bachelor of Arts from the University of North Dakota. Go Sioux! And was elected to the White Bear City Council, where he still serves. And probably the proudest thing in his life, he's the father of 3 grown children. But I wanted to introduce Bill today because 20 years ago, he took a chance on a political novice, an unemployed accountant, aging, and gave me the job as the secretary of the Republican Party of Minnesota, and it was a wonderful experience. So thank you, Bill, for that opportunity.
Thank you, Barb. What the first thing we did, by the way, when you got hired back at the Republican Party, I can't remember what year it was, but the door was locked. The front door, the door to come in the party headquarters was locked permanently. And so it was sending the wrong message, right? We're not open to visitors. We're not open to new ideas. We're not open at all. And so we hired Barb and unlocked the door. And so you could come into the headquarters then and meet a smiling face to greet you and say, "Hi, welcome to the Republican Party of Minnesota. I'm Barb. What can I do for you?" So I'm glad you reminded me of that day and that time. So great introduction. Thank you. My name is Bill Walsh, as she said, Director of Marketing Communications for Center of the American Experiment. Most of you are familiar with the American Experiment, I hope. If you're not, I'll just do the quick plug. This is our free quarterly magazine. If you haven't already got this in your mailbox, we got copies in the back. There's a card in here to fill out to get it. Get it while it's hot and free. So that's kind of our premier thing. But we're Minnesota's think tank. We have 21 employees. We have a bunch of policy fellows that sit and read and write and research and publish and advocate on issues like energy, education, public safety, healthcare. We have 2 economists on our staff that talk about the state budget. So that's what we do. We our mission is not political like your mission. We're a 501c3. We don't do candidates. We don't do elections. Our mission in life is the way I put it. I don't know if it's officially our mission, but our mission is to create a smarter voter. That smarter voter that walks in that voting booth and makes a better decision. And we need that more than ever right now in Minnesota. We need smarter decisions and better voters. So that's our mission as we go through it. So today you're going to get a sneak preview of our presentation that was mentioned earlier coming around the state. We're going to do this presentation about 20 times around the state of Minnesota. You're going to hear it first. So this is the first time I've done it, the first time we've done it. So I hope if you've already signed up for another one, you should come back to that one anyway. It'll be better when we have a policy fellow doing it and not me. But we've just got this all together. We're going to run through this presentation. You guys will be the first to see it. But last year we went around the state. Let's see if my clicker's working. Yes. Last year we went around the state after session and did our tour off the cliff, talking about the legislature and Governor Walsh taking the state off the cliff. How many of you saw that presentation? Yeah, a lot of you. Great. Awesome. So this year we're going to do something a little different. We're going to focus on Minnesotans, and specifically young Minnesotans. So we did something kind of unusual. We did a poll of 18 to 34-year-olds. We do a Thinking Minnesota poll every quarter as part of the magazine, but we decided to check in with young people. And what a better time to do that, with Biden in office and Trump running against him. Well, why don't we hear what young people think in Minnesota? So kind of first time we've ever done this, we did a poll of Minnesotans. They say it's kind of cliche, but the youth are our future. I mean, it's cliche, but it's actually true. I mean, it's really important that we have a vibrant, safe, competitive, and thriving state. And a lot of that depends on our youth and who's coming through. So the question today is, do we have a vibrant, safe, competitive, and thriving Minnesota? Is it a great place to live, work, and raise your family, as so many candidates say? You hear that, oh, Minnesota's a great place to live, work, and raise your family. So we decided to go out and ask young people, and the results surprised us. And I think they'll surprise you, too. The kids are not all right. I guess that's a song I think about that. But a lot of pessimism in young people in Minnesota right now. A lot of negativity. A lot of lack of confidence about their future. So we're going to run through the poll. And let me just get into it a little bit. Contrary to what Governor Tim Walsh thinks. So here's some Twitter from Tim Walsh. He says, high-paying jobs, paid leave, good schools, adult cannabis use, reproductive freedom equals the best state for millennials. That's what he thinks. So he thinks marijuana and reproductive health, whatever that means, is what's going to attract youth to Minnesota. Our poll shows that the youth in Minnesota are not buying it. So today's program is called False Promises, How Progressive Policies Betray Minnesota's Youth. So we're going to walk through the poll, but we're going to do more than that. We're going to connect it to data and then connect it to policy that has been enacted in Minnesota that has caused this pessimism. We're trying to make this connection for them and for everybody. And I know there's no youth in the room today, and I know you guys have been at our events. We always struggle to get young people to come to our events. People say it every time. We need more young people at our events, and we understand. But young people are out working and raising their kids and doing all the stuff that we've already done to raise our families. But you've got kids, you've got grandkids, and so this presentation really is about them and for them. We're going to connect their unhappiness to actual policies that created it. So that's kind of today's goal. So just a little bit about the poll. We do a poll every quarter, like I said. We have a pollster, Rob Autry, with Meeting Street Strategies, Meeting Street Insights out of South Carolina. We've been using him for a long time. We did 300 surveys for this poll. It was a combination of cell phones and landlines. But because we were going after youth 18 to 34, we did a lot of texting to get them to respond. So the science is good. It's always good. But that's kind of about the poll. Now, polling is good. It's data, but it's kind of cold. It's dry. It's analytical. We decided to do something else in addition to the data. So we put together 2 focus groups of young people. So we brought in all kinds of young people and did 2 different focus groups with them. We videotaped it. So today I'm going to go through polling, but I'm also going to show you little video clips of young people actually talking about the challenges that they're facing going through this economy. All right, let's get into some results. You already heard this today in the introduction about this event. This is the most staggering number in the whole poll, so we're going to lead with it. 90% of Minnesota youth don't believe they're going to do as well economically as their parents. I think that's sad. I'm trying to think when I was 18 to 34, I just assumed I was going to conquer the world and do way better than my parents. And I just had that confidence. And 90% is an unusual number to poll. That's 9 out of 10. That's essentially everybody. The pollster said they never see a number like this, especially on a question like that. So, not a very positive start. But let's hear from one of our panelists, Olivia. Oh, shoot. Okay, hold on. We got to get audio to work. My speaker's not on. Oh, wrong button. All right, here we go. Let's try this again. I'm going to go back. Let's try it.
I don't think my generation is going to do better than my parents. I was just talking to my family about this, looking at like my aunts and uncles and my mom and how post-college or post-grad for them, it was automatically, oh, I'm moving to this state to work at my job. I'm getting an apartment here. And like even in the summers, they would my mom went to Wyoming to work for a company every summer. And like that was just completely normal, where I feel like now a lot of my friends, we like go home, live at home, work, but you can't really make enough to live on your own. And now in post-grad life, you still I've lived at home for 6 months, trying to save up money to be able to move out and live that way, where that just wasn't a thing for them before.
Yeah, so she says that just wasn't a thing for them before. That's just thinking about her parents. She didn't feel like they had to do what she has to do. You know, it's difficult to get launched and difficult to get out. More pessimism. If we ask the youth, what about the next generation? What about your kids? Are they going to do better than you economically? 68% said that their kids are going to be worse off than them. Again, I just find that staggering and depressing. And my hope for my kids is that they do way better than me, but they're not there. Continuing on this theme, we asked them the kind of the typical polling right direction, wrong direction question. Is the country going in the right direction? 81% said no, not so much. 45% said wrong direction in Minnesota. So typical, we always feel better about the state than we do about the country, but there's a lot of negativity in this poll. Some bad news for the president, too. This partisanship really drives these numbers. Democrats split 25-75 on the country. So even Democrats, young Democrats, are 75% unsatisfied with the direction of the country. That is not a good sign for the president in the state of Minnesota. Similar question, do you trust state and federal government? Talk about, how often you trust state and federal government. 89% sometimes or never trust the federal government. Young people do not trust government. It's a little better in the state, 57% never trust. So 42% trust state government. Again, that's just kind of our Minnesota homerism. But let's talk about what's driving it. So we're going to go through a number of issues to kind of get at what's driving this pessimism and negativity. We'll start with housing. Housing is the American dream, right? I'm going to grow up, I'm going to move out, I'm going to buy a home. That's the definition of the American dream. But look at today's market. With average home prices in the Twin Cities at $369,000, if you want to get a 10% down payment like we probably did when we bought our house, that's $36,000. Rents are really high. Even if you make a good income as a young person, it's really hard to get that first house in today's market. And we asked Minnesotans, young people, how concerned are you about being able to afford a house? 83% very concerned. They're concerned about buying a house. I mean, it's obvious, and you've talked to your kids and grandkids about this, I'm sure. Let's hear from a young couple.
The challenge is right now is to be able to save. Thankfully, we both don't have any school debt or loans or anything like that. So that's a huge advantage, but I feel like a lot of people have those. And then, with inflation, it's just harder to be able to budget or save a lot towards, a down payment or, be able to buy a house. So that's just like a huge challenge right now to budget for groceries, gas, and just all these other things that just add up, I feel like we're doing a good job at budgeting right now, but still it feels like it's so hard to save. Well, we want to save more, but everything is so expensive with inflation right now.
Yeah, and so the data backs that up. I mentioned the average home price in the Twin Cities. Right now it's $369,000. In 1990, it was $73,000. Now, obviously, there's some income disparities there too, but that's a huge difference. And we can all think of the first homes we bought. I mean, I think mine was $114,000 in about 1995. So, and it was doable. It was reachable for me. Home values have outpaced incomes. We decided to look at that. Okay, let's challenge that premise. Incomes have gone up 67% since 2000. Home values have gone up 147%. So they're not tracking. The income is not keeping up with home values, and that's driving this pressure on young people. Here's another chart just talking about the Twin Cities. This is kind of an affordability index, looking at that home value versus income. We're the second highest of big metropolitan areas like Chicago, Detroit. Only Milwaukee is worse than us. You can see that over on the left. Now, let's get into some policy. So the second part of this is going to be what policies are driving these situations. So years of progressive policy has really wrecked housing in Minnesota. We'll start with the Met Council. You've all heard this MUSA line issue, and I can't tell you what MUSA stands for acronym-wise, but Metropolitan Urban something, I don't know. Basically, it's an artificial line around the cities where inside you can get services from Met Council, outside the line you can't. And that artificial line has driven up the price of property and housing inside the line because you can get connected to sewer and water and through the Met Council. And that singularly has really driven up the cost of housing in the Twin Cities. All kinds of other things the state does from the legislature to drive up the cost of housing. We have state building codes that micromanage, what has to be done in a house. We have energy-saving rules that you have to have high-efficiency lamps and light bulbs and things like that. There are local regulations that pile on, zoning, land use, density things, aesthetic mandates. You've seen this all over the cities. You have to use this kind of brick. If you do a new development in Woodbury, the brick has to be this kind of brick, this quality. Now, all of this is a balance, right? It's all a trade-off. If we had a DFL legislator here today, they'd say, well, it's for safety. We got to be more safe. So you're going to see this throughout this presentation. We've been making choices in Minnesota on the side of safety, on the side of regulations, on the side of I don't know what when it comes to aesthetic brick, but that all adds to cost. So these are trade-offs we've been making forever. A good example, this was done a few years ago by the Housing First group. We looked at a house built in Lake Elmo, Minnesota. Same builder now, same materials, same floor plan, same square footage, all the same union guys working on it. $376,000 in Lake Elmo, same house across the river, $329,000. So it's $47,000 more to be 10 minutes over the border in Wisconsin. So we don't hear about houses burning down or falling down in Wisconsin and people dying. We don't hear about that, right? It seems to be working for them much cheaper than it is in Minnesota. No better example than that. A couple other things related to housing in our poll. Young people are concerned about being able to pay off their student loans. 60% answered that question. Young people are concerned about being able to buy a car. 60% answered that as a concern. So all of these things are driving their concerns. Okay, so you want to buy a house. You only have so much money. How are we going to find a house in a safe neighborhood? That's the next challenge. And so we asked folks about how they feel in terms of safety. And again, 64% of our young people are concerned about public safety. It's no wonder, since the riots in 2020 and what's going on in the U of M campus clearly is driving a lot of these things. Let's hear one of our panelists talk about safety.
We've had friends get robbed at gunpoint. We've had friends get their car stolen. I've had multiple friends get their car stolen. A few really good friends of mine have had their phones stolen. It's always females, too, most of the time, that get targeted. Wallets, phones, MacBooks. Literally, our friend walking on campus gets his AirPods ripped out of his hand. I live downtown Minneapolis. My apartment lease just ended May 31st. I saw multiple shootings out my bedroom window this year. I remember I took a video on my phone of them, and the police came and had me email them for evidence. Had to email them videos for them. Just seeing where I live and seeing my brother's friends that went to the U of M and the experience they had, and being able to go to the bars and walk around after and get pizza with your friends. No, you can't do that. It is literally Gotham City, and it is very scary. And hearing gunshots every night when you go to bed as a student on campus is not normal. And my friends who went to Iowa State never experienced that. My brother went to Wisconsin. He never experienced that. And so it's just sad that was my college experience.
All right, our video froze up, but hopefully we'll... All right, here we go. Technical difficulties. Isaac, what do you think? I'm froze. Can you advance from there? Just try to advance. I'll talk with it while they fix it. Her fears, by the way, are backed by data. Absolutely backed by data. Let me know when it comes back on. Minnesota is no longer a safe place for young people. Minnesota is no longer safer than the rest of the country. When we look back at, just comparing 2023 data to 2019, the good old days before the riots, we are 48% higher in aggravated assaults and murders and 11% higher in robberies. Do you want to just restart it, Isaac, and come back in? And you see this in the papers. They'll say, well, crime's going down. 2023 crime went down based on 2022 crime. Well, 2022 crime was astronomically high. So congratulations, you're coming down from 2022 numbers. But when we still go back to kind of a baseline year of 2019, it is not the same. And speaking of young people, oh, I'm back. Cool. Look at that. Nice job, guys. Young people are more victimized by crime than the rest of us. And this is a statistic in Minnesota. 58% of crimes are against people less than 35 years old. Only 42% against people that are older than 35. So crime affects young people more than it does the rest of us. And this chart we've been using for a while now. This is again a sad start. This shows the crime rate. We ran a campaign. Minnesota is no longer a low crime state. We've always been under the U.S. average when it comes to crime, forever, really. And now you can see U.S. crime has been falling, and Minnesota crime since about 2018 has been going up. What happened in 2018? Oh yeah, Tim Walz got elected. Yeah, okay. I'm not political, right? Yeah, okay. No, I'm just educating. Just educating. That's a correlation, probably. So crime in Minnesota is going up, U.S. is coming down, and about 2020, those lines crossed. We are now above average in crime when it comes to the state. So, again, what's driving this? No secret. The first thing is leaders in our state vilifying the police. You know, I was talking to a gentleman from Minneapolis for the event, you know. They're trying to approve this contract for Minneapolis cops. Suddenly, Democrats and socialists in Minneapolis are concerned about union contracts, you know. Well, this one they're scrutinizing because it's cops. That has really been hard on them and hard to recruit new people on the force. And then more than most slides on mostly we're going to talk about Democrats doing things. In crime, they haven't done things, okay? So they just failed to do anything in the last few years to address the revolving door of justice that we've seen. I mean, we're watching it with judges letting people out, not sentencing them. That's what we've been dealing with. When the legislature does pass a law, like they passed a carjacking statute, they didn't put any penalties on it. So the Sentencing Guidelines Commission was about to just kind of make it a misdemeanor because they were given that authority and power. But we ran a quick campaign at American Experiment. You probably all signed the petition and sent it into the Sentencing Guidelines Commission, and that pressure actually worked. It's one of a really good victory for us and for you. So they upped those penalties for carjacking, but they're passing things and not putting consequences or accountability on it. And then, like I said, failed to address significant departures from sentencing. We've got judges that could sentence, especially crimes with a gun, could do more and aren't doing that. The legislature is just not addressing it. And then most damaging, they put this bill forward. Thankfully, it didn't pass. But you know how they work. This year they put it in, doesn't pass. They come back. Incrementalism. They're going to keep at it. This was a bill to eliminate the mandatory minimum sentence for felons in possession of a firearm. In the middle of this mess, they're going to go easy on guys committing crimes with a gun. It doesn't make any sense at all. Go in the wrong direction. Okay, let's talk child care. Uh-oh. Come on, slide. Come on. I can sort of see it. Oh, there it is. I had to click twice. Okay.
So I have a lot of cousins who are older than me and have kids right now, and they are sending their kids to like home daycares, like women who like run daycares out of their home, because it's almost cheaper to do that than go to a daycare. And actually, one of my friends who works in childcare said that it's almost you break even if a mom stays home from work and doesn't work than if you have like 3 to 4 kids and you're putting them all in childcare. Like, you pay so much money. Those daycare centers are extremely crazy expensive. I forget, like, per kid, even if your kid's sick and they have to stay home from school, you still have to pay for their spot.
So we didn't get any panelists on with children. That was kind of a bummer in our seeking out. But this is what young people think. They're thinking about childcare. I asked the panel, what you guys worried about, concerned about, once you have children paying for childcare, and this is the answers I got. So it's on the minds of the youth, and they're not wrong, because we're going to show some of the childcare in childcare centers has risen faster than inflation. You know, the blue line is the childcare in preschools, and then everything else is the red line. The cost has gone up faster than inflation. And in Minnesota, we hit them hard. We are the 8th highest cost licensed center-based care. You can see the red line over there. And look at the states that we're with, you know. New Jersey, Maryland, Hawaii, New York, D.C., Massachusetts. Those are the ones higher than us. You're used to seeing us with those kind of states, right? This is about slots. The costs are going up, and we're losing slots. And so mainly, you can see the lines intersecting. The blue line is center-based care, and the orange one going down is family care. So we've been driving family care providers out of the business with legislative activity and what's going on. And center care is picking up some of the slack, but not all of the slack. Net-wise, on top, that line is going down. We are losing child care slots, especially in greater Minnesota. Huge challenge in greater Minnesota. And again, policies that are driving this in Minnesota. 2 big things drive child care policy in Minnesota. Burdensome staffing ratios. We have the highest staffing ratios in the country, among the highest. I shouldn't say the highest, among the highest. That means how many teachers we need per pupil, per kid in a daycare center, per infant, per toddler, those kind of things. Just burdensome ratios. And then teacher training. We require a degree to be a teacher in a child care center. Just way more learning and experience, hours and hours and hours of experience to get that license to be a teacher in a child care center. Other states don't do that. If a child care provider comes from Wisconsin and moves to Minnesota, they can't walk into a center and get a job. They're not qualified. And again, it's a trade-off, right? They're going to say it's safety. Safety is going to be what they're going to say. Wow, we have to have that ratio high for safety. We have to train teachers more, our kids. But there's no data that shows that our kids are safer. There just isn't. Kids are not dying in child care centers around the state because of their staffing ratios. And a couple things. On child care and on housing, there's a broader point. One of the solutions I don't have on the screen is Democrats, liberals, progressives, whatever you want to call them, the solution is always money, right? They're going to pour more money at the problem. We've poured tons of money at child care, tons of money at housing. The governor, or the lieutenant governor, announced yesterday on Twitter, there's $150 million for first-time home buyers, first-generation home buyers. That makes them feel good and makes them seem like they're doing something. It's an input, but it does not help. It drives up the cost. And again, if you come to the presentation and then one of the other locations, we'll have one of our economists there to talk about this, and I'm not an economist, but it's when you put money into the system, it artificially drives up demand and artificially drives up price as you're doing it. And then you can subsidize some people, maybe low-income people, but then those in the middle that don't qualify for the subsidies have to deal with the higher prices that you just forced up with your money. So it really ruins the entire system in child care and in housing and some other ways they do that. Health care. We asked our young people, are you concerned about affordability for health care? 47% concerned about affordability in health care. It's a real problem in Minnesota. Let's hear.
Premiums have gone up quite a bit. I think every year they've gone up that I've been on my own for, this is my third year on my own insurance, and I think they've gone up every year.
I went to get a physical, like simple thing to just get down and, make sure that everything is fine. And then I get the bill, and it was like $600 just for a physical. I was like, what in the world? So, of course, they paid for most of it, but I still had to pay like $90-something. And I remember like when I was in high school, a physical was like maybe $100 or something. And that was crazy. I told her, like, that is insane. Like, just a physical $600, and then, how much for the surgery or something more complex. So that was kind of good.
I love that. I love Kenneth. Poof. It blows them away. I mean, they're just getting into it. They're just starting to understand the healthcare system, the premiums coming out of their paychecks, the affordability problems. Absolutely. And we all know this story. This is not new in Minnesota. But this was just July 2nd. This was just last week. Headline in the Star Tribune, premium hikes looking at 12.75%. That's the Blue Cross Blue Shield number. Every year, health insurance companies have to submit their rates to the Department of Commerce. So here's the chart from that story. Blue Cross at 12.7. You got 7.6, 9.3, 8.8. Big numbers for increases to premiums are coming, and they're seeing it. What's driving healthcare, and we don't have time. We could do a whole presentation on what drives the cost of healthcare, but we're going to just do one philosophical point. I think the biggest thing that drives healthcare from progressives in Minnesota is their attempt and their success at driving more and more people into public care and driving more and more people into government-run programs. That's their goal. And every time they do that, they raise the cost for everybody that's not in a government program and ruin the market. And their goal is to ruin the market so that we're eventually all in a government-run program. You know this already, but this is kind of how it's happening. So, right now we have 1.3 million people on Medicaid, which is the federal government's program for the poor. And I remember when Mark Dayton expanded Medicaid in 2011, and he bragged about this number. And Democrats will brag about how many people we have on Medicaid. That's nothing to brag about. It's shameful. It's a statement on 1/5 of Minnesotans need help getting their health care paid for. We shouldn't be proud of that. That's a failure. We have another 100,000 people on Minnesota Care, the health care program for the working poor. At least there's some premium paid there, kind of. It's a little better than a Medicaid program. By the way, completely unique in the country. Minnesota, there's one other state in the country that has a program for the working poor. No other state does it. So again, Minnesotans are overly generous, and that's what drives up the cost, also drives up your taxes. What's the one other state that has a program like that? New York. So we're right there with New York and their high taxes. So I said this already, progressive healthcare policies expand the number of people dependent on government for coverage. And then in the 2023 legislature, this was in our proposal last year, Governor Walsh allowed illegal immigrants now in the legislature to get onto Minnesota Care. So there's an expansion of more people on the program that aren't even citizens. What does it do? I mean, just philosophically, like I said, we don't have time to go into detail, but it stifles innovation. You don't have people in the healthcare field trying to innovate when the government is paying for everything. And we lose our access to life-saving, life-enhancing healthcare. That's what's at stake here. And Minnesota's been a leader in that forever, and we're falling behind. And there's one other policy that we want to talk about is a moratorium on new healthcare facilities. That's in state law. You can't build a new healthcare facility. There's a moratorium. I think the last one we did was the hospital in Maple Grove. Probably, well, it was 2012, 11, I think is when it passed, or I don't know if it was built 14 maybe. But that was a huge legislative fight to build a hospital that we needed. We needed the hospital, but they had to go through the control of the legislature because there's a moratorium on new healthcare facilities. That is not a market in healthcare. Education. We don't have polling or video on education, but you know this story. We are falling behind in Minnesota in education. I think one of the biggest accomplishments of American Experiment is exposing this and getting this story out there, that our once vaunted education program, the pride of the country, is nothing to be prideful about anymore. Here's the nation's report card, the National Assessment of Education Progress, NAEP, they call it. This is an apples-to-apples comparison of other states. You know, fourth grade reading, this is 2022, so test was done in 2022. Fourth grade reading, our lowest ever. Fourth grade math, lowest since 2000. Eighth grade reading, our lowest ever. And eighth grade math lowest since 1990. This is just nothing to be proud of. You've seen this stat before, too. 50% of our kids right now are not meeting grade level reading standards, and 54% are not meeting math standards. That's the first time this has happened since we started the MCA testing in, 2003. So this is more than half the kids are not proficient in reading and math. And we're graduating them and sending them off into the world without a good education. Progressive policies betraying Minnesota's youth, right there. You couldn't say it any better. Our ACT scores. Our ACT composite score for 2023 is lower than it was in 2007. And it's been lower ever since 2007. So what's going on there? We used to lead the country in ACT scores. And then our achievement gap, we've talked a lot of people talk about the achievement gap. We talk it to death. Nobody does anything to improve it, but here we are, one ranking has us 49th. If you look at all of the things combined into an educational racial equality index, we're second to last. Again, nothing to be proud of. By the way, the solution, school choice. School choice is the solution to this education achievement gap and to improving quality. We need to get enough choice in the system to raise all boats so that school down the street looks down at that private school and says, wow, they're really killing it with the same students and families we are. What are they doing that we need to do to compete? When that happens, these scores will go up. That won't happen until we have school choice. That's a little plug for school choice there. The policy that's driven this, besides not passing school choice, they focus on inputs again, not outputs. It's always more money. We need to fully fund education, right? But we have funded education. Revenue per student is up 31% since 2002. This is another one of our favorite charts. This chart debunks the idea that more money in education is the answer. The green line going up is more money. We've been putting more money into the system in Minnesota forever. The black line is reading proficiency. The blue line is math proficiency. So as we put more money into the system, proficiency goes down. It's not correlated. It's not going to help. I'm going faster than my notes here, which is good. One other thing, a couple other things. Administrative bloat. We have really a 43% increase in principals and assistant principals in Minnesota from 2000 to 2021. We went up 1.9% in students. So you got 2% more students and 43% more administrators. That used to be the thing, like in 2000, I remember working for Governor Pawlenty at the Department of Education. That was kind of fixed. That was kind of in line, but it has bloated out again. It is completely bloated again. We got 4% more teachers. So it's not even teachers, that are growing our bloat in the K-12 system. And then, obviously, their focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion is completely misguided, and it's a distraction, and it takes away time and energy from raising student achievement. There's nothing more that betrays Minnesota youth than a focus on DEI. All right, quickly, energy.
Coal power plant in Decker, coal-fired power plant, is slated to shut down. by the end of the decade, and they're going to replace it with, I think, 600 acres of solar panels, which is likely to increase energy bills. They're talking about how they want to charge more for on-peak, for peak hours, and charge less for off-peak. Well, obviously, that's going to make all energy costs go up because many businesses, like schools and such, only operate during peak hours. Where are they going to shift their costs? Taxpayers. And I live in the city limits, so that's going to shift to me. So no matter how much I try to cut, even if I turn my lights off completely, I'm still going to be paying more for energy.
Yeah, I love that. No matter, even if I turn my lights off, he understands that he's going to pay more for energy. Our young people get it when it comes to energy. And another sad chart on the state of Minnesota, forever Minnesota was a low energy cost state, low electricity cost. That's why we have mining thriving. That's why we have 3M, mining, manufacturing. Third one, please. Materials. No, was it Minnesota? 3M, yeah. So mining requires low energy costs. Refinery, Coke Refinery is the largest energy user in the country, in the state. They require low energy in order to thrive. Forestry, farming, everything requires that. We were always low. That's why that was part of our success. And then come the renewable energy mandates, right? And now you can see where these lines crossed, I think about 2009. The red is Minnesota. The blue is the nation. So we were under it, and then in 2009 we crossed over, and we've been above the national average in electricity pricing ever since. And it's directly correlated to renewable energy mandates. And frankly, started by my former boss, Governor Tim Pawlenty, and then carried on to the extreme with this 2040 plan, 100% renewable by 2040 from Governor Tim Walz. It is absolutely correlating to higher electricity prices for young people in Minnesota. And then the other thing Tim Walz is doing is following California's lead. He loves Gavin Newsom. He loves the policy there. So we keep following these misguided California fuel standards, for instance, which just raise the price of gasoline and other things. Again, their motive is, I guess, saving the planet. But we've written extensively, you go to our website, about you can't track the benefit. You can't measure the environmental impact of these policies. It's infinitesimal over time. And it gets so far off track from a statistical perspective, it's unmeasurable benefit, but you can absolutely measure the pain. All right, we have 3 left. We're just going to finish with the economy, migration, and taxes, the big finish here on progressive policies. It's kind of obvious presentation, but let's just start with the economy. We ask our guys in our poll, most important issue for the 2024 election coming up. And it just pegged out, you've seen this before, inflation and the cost of living. 54% answered that. Another 22% said the economy and jobs. And nothing else was close. Abortion is at 14%. The environment is at 13%. People don't care about the environment when the economy's not doing well. It's a luxury to think about that. So our young people very concerned about the economy, jobs, inflation. Let's hear from Dylan.
My parents also, when they were my age, owned a house. They didn't have the economic worries. They had an employer who took care of them, who gave them a pension. My dad just retired this month. He worked for 3 companies his whole life. I, in the first 7 years of my career, have already worked at 3 companies.
Yeah, that's a very typical statement from the young people in our panel. They expect their work life to be way different than their parents. And so, again, it's backed up by data. So at American Experiment, we focus on GDP, gross domestic product by state, or per capita. We think that's the best indicator of a successful economy. And again, we've always been under or over the national average in GDP until recently. So here we are, the lines finally crossed. Minnesota's red, USA is the blue. So we're now under the country when it comes to GDP growth. And we have been for quite some time. And we've been sounding that alarm bell. The Star Tribune columnist Evan Ramstad tried to help us solve that alarm bell, got it wrong, but then fixed it and got it right. So he's starting to understand it. Democrats like Tim Walz are in denial. They keep looking at other measures like unemployment and things which are important. But GDP growth per capita is really what you want to track, and we are falling behind the country in GDP growth. And again, there's not much to talk about in terms of causes. Progressive policies. It's taxes. It's tax hikes. The 2014 tax hike was the turning point for GDP growth. Ever since that tax hike came into effect, Mark Dayton's 4th tier on the income tax, our GDP growth has stalled and gone down relative to the country. And so there's not much rocket science to this. It's taxes. Migration, again, back to this tweet from Tim Walsh. He thinks that, we're going to attract millennials with, adult use cannabis and reproductive freedom. And if he was right, we would see young people coming to Minnesota, right? We'd see it in the data, right? Well, it's not in the data. We are not attracting young people to Minnesota. Matter of fact, we are the 9th lowest in terms of net migration for young people. We're losing young people. We lost 5,000 young people in 2021. And we're the 9th lowest on that track. And again, that's changed and is now a trend. And it's worrisome. It's worrisome. And again, we can have Katerina from our panel tell us why.
I know a lot of young people who have moved since COVID. 3 Florida, 1 to Louisiana, and 1 to Utah. And they've been great moves for them because those places have way lower taxes, especially Florida, no income tax. So way lower taxes, way lower crime. And they've gotten good jobs in those locations too, better jobs. And they have like beach or mountain.
Yeah, how do we compete? The young people get it. They get it. Lower taxes in Florida. Move to Florida. This is the one spot in our presentation where the polling kind of has a disconnect with the data. We asked young people, are you planning to stay in Minnesota? I think what the numbers are, it's I don't have that. I didn't do the math. Well, you can see the blue is, 31 and 47. Going to stay. Good place to grow my career. I'm planning on staying and raising a family in Minnesota. 70% said yes. So that looks like a disconnect in the polling. And when we see people are leaving, and yet they're saying they're staying. But here's the problem. We didn't ask anybody that left because they already left. So the people that left didn't answer our poll. What we polled is people that are here and staying here. So 30% of the people that are staying here are still thinking of moving. In addition, all the people that left and weren't available to answer our poll. So that's migration. Just to end on taxes, young people understand taxes in Minnesota. We asked them, are taxes too high, taxes too low, taxes about right? 46% said they're too high. 50% said they're about right. This white space in the middle is for those that think taxes are too low. 0%. Nobody said that. And this tracks, by the way, through all age groups in Minnesota. Nobody thinks taxes in Minnesota are too low. Most people think they're too high, including our young people. And of course, they're right. Let's hear from Morgan.
Taxes are crazy. I remember last summer, I live in Stillwater, and I had gone to Dairy Queen with siblings. And then, like a couple weeks later, we went to Dairy Queen in Hudson, Wisconsin. And we got the exact same stuff because everyone gets the same, ice cream cone. And I couldn't believe that it was like $4 cheaper, whatever. I couldn't believe how much, there was $2 of taxes on whatever our bill was. And in Minnesota, we got the exact same thing, but it cost more. And I literally thought they rung us up wrong or something because we just bought this 10 minutes difference away. And yeah, it was crazy.
All right, so that's the sales tax, obviously, but young people get it, whether it's furniture, cars, ice cream. Taxes are higher here than in other states. And the data proves it. We have the 6th highest income tax rate in the country at 9.85%. We have the top corporate income tax rate now. When we started put this presentation together, the bullet point was we're the 3rd highest. But we do a little research. New Jersey and Pennsylvania lowered their corporate income taxes in the last few years, making us number 1. So other states are lowering taxes and going the right direction. We're not doing anything when it comes to taxes unless we're raising them. So we're number 1, corporate income taxes. We are one of 13 states that have a estate tax. Most states don't. They don't tax estates. Probably more important to people in this room than they are young people. We're number 31 in the gas tax for now because the 2023 legislature indexed the gas tax to inflation. So it's going to start going up on its own, autopilot, without the legislature even voting on it. It used to be a tough vote at the legislature whether to raise a tax. They put it on autopilot. They put it on the index to inflation. So nothing earth-shattering here. Again, we raised taxes in 2014. They had a $17.6 billion surplus last year, and they still raised taxes. I mean, that's the mentality of the people in charge in St. Paul right now. Let me just finish with Katerina.
Charges in Minneapolis are so annoying. It's like I got 2 meatballs, which was supposed to be like a full plate, but it was 2 meatballs. So that's like a quarter pound of ground beef. And it was, I think, $15 or $16. And then a couple dollars for the Minneapolis city tax, a couple dollars for all the other taxes, a couple dollars for the health and wellness charge, and then a tip, and it was $30 for a quarter pound of ground beef. I was like, and I was hungry because it was a quarter pound of ground beef. It was so annoying. And I was talking to my dad about this, and he was like, you got to come to Wisconsin. This is what I'm telling you. Like, you got to come find a Wisconsin boy, pay lower taxes, and get a full plate of food for your $30.
All right. Katerina pretty much sums up the entire presentation right there. You know, her dad telling her, find a nice guy, move to Wisconsin where taxes are lower, and you can get a full plate of food for your $30. We couldn't have said it any better than she did, and we'll kind of end with her presentation there. But here's one other point. All of this work they've done at the legislature, Governor Walsh and the legislature, you know, program after program after program, all the spending, $17.6 billion. What has it got us? Shouldn't we be the most successful, thriving, greatest state in the country for all of those programs if they're working? But look at the data. Food shelf visits in Minnesota doubled last year. You know, we have a sense of lawlessness, you know, all over the Twin Cities. It's not in control. That achievement gap is not getting any better. You know, there's an affordability crisis for young people, as we've seen here. With housing and childcare and buying a car and paying for all those things. So all of that spending, all of that policy is misguided, and it's not delivering what it needs to deliver. So that's our presentation. That's kind of, again, not a great hopeful message, again, from the American experiment. We're trying to get better at giving you hope, but we have to lay out what's going on. We wanted to try to connect policies to what's going on, and hopefully young people will see this presentation. And I hope that you can come back and see it again in another place with one of our policy fellows who will do a better job on some of the statistics. But I think we have time for questions. I don't know if we have. I don't know how I did on time, but okay, we have 10 minutes for questions. I'm not sure what we'll get for questions, but we can guinea pig the question here. So thanks a lot. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Will their disillusionment be reflected in the way they vote, or do they tie it back to the people they elect to office?
Well, you certainly hope so. That's kind of why we're doing this. I think it will. I'm an optimist. I think I think the one partisan number we had in the poll that showed that the split among young Democrats on the right direction for the country is 25-75. 75% of young Democrats in our poll think the country's going in the wrong direction. I'm not sure how you walk in and pull a lever for President Biden if you believe that. So I think those are some startling numbers in the kind of get into the crosstabs. So I think it will, but I think it's your job, frankly, as a political organization, to connect those dots. It's those candidates' jobs that were here a minute ago to make that case and connect that. We're giving you the data and hopefully making it easy. But, yeah, that's the next goal, right? Connect that to candidates and then win elections. But we don't win elections. That's not our job. Sorry. Go ahead.
Is it on? There we go. Yeah. Thank you. All right, so we're talking about two different groups here. The young people, and that's everybody's future. And then this old people. Did you compare the two groups and their tendency or likelihood of voting? I think a lot of people know that in the last couple of elections, Republicans sat on their couch thinking they would get swamped over by the red wave, and so they didn't get off their butt, and they didn't even go vote, and that's why we lose. So those are the older people. Are the younger people as apathetic? What's your measure? What's your gauge on that?
Yeah, we don't have it. I don't have it in the slides, but we did ask questions like that in the poll. I could add them. We asked them how engaged are you? Essentially, are you planning to vote? And it was very high. Now, sometimes there's a phenomenon in polling that you give the right answer, you give the answer you want the other person to hear, even though it's just some random pollster. You want to say, well, of course I'm going to vote. So those numbers are always kind of high. A better answer we put a little test question in the poll just to see if were getting good data or not. We asked the young people in Minnesota, who is in control of the legislature right now? Is it? And 84% of them got it right. All Democrat control. So okay, I felt really good about that. All right, these people are paying attention. They say they're going to vote. They say they're engaged. We'll see. But at least they're paying attention, and they got that answer right. We were all shocked by the answer on that question. I might have to add that to the presentation.
Did you focus at all on the DEI issues in your polling and in the discussion with the youth?
We didn't in the polling. It came up in the focus groups. I don't have a clip, didn't make the cut. The young lady Olivia, talked about the U of M, going through the U of M, even in the Carlson School of Management. I wish I could bring the clip up, where she says it was just, all about wokeness, even permeating the business school at the U of M. So some of that came out in the focus group, but we didn't delve into it in the polling. But they get it. They absolutely understand the waste of time that it is. And we have to for them, too.
I had a question about regulation. I had read, of course, that there's a child care crisis, and the regulators came out with 91 pages of regulations, including the size and brand name of the stuffed animals.
Yes. Yes, that's new. That's happening right now. If you go to watch our podcast, my colleague Isaac here and I produced this podcast. We had a child care provider on last week who talked about there's some new regulations being proposed that are going to make things even worse. And home child care providers are up in arms trying to fight it. And you're exactly right. It's the not only just have toys. It used to be you got to have some toys, age-appropriate toys for the different kids. Here's the exact toy you need. Here's the cleaning products you need. Not just keep your house clean if you're a home provider. Here are the cleaning products you need to use. They went around the country and found all the regulations and put them all into one state, and that's what's proposing for Minnesota. And it's going to drive more home providers out of business, which will drive families into centers which are under a lot of regulations already, which is going to raise the cost. So yeah, that's very astute. That's happening right now. There'll be an opportunity for input in that, by the way, so keep your eye on that. We may help people send an email to somebody saying, don't do this.
Katie Jacobs, 39, candidate for 39B. I know that this study is about young people, but I am on the council and live in a community that is approximately 3.5 square miles. One of the things that we keep finding again and again and again is developers coming in, buying up the property. We have very little commercial property available. They buy it up. They cannot produce single-family homes that are affordable. So they put in, we're looking at it, and I don't know if any of you are familiar with it, the Rainbow site, which is about 13 acres. They're looking at over 700 units, plus some retail and underground parking. That is absurd. And more absurd, it backs up my darn neighborhood. So I get all those phone calls. Do you see any correlation in how corporate landlords, that's the other piece of the pipe, corporate landlords coming in, buying properties and renting them out, jacking up the rental prices, it puts these young people in a catch-22. And do you see any correlation in any of that? These developers are staying there for 20 to 25 years, they're collecting their pot, and they move down the road. We're stuck with this.
Yeah, two answers. One, you're absolutely right on the first piece. The system favors rental properties and density. And so all the subsidies that they can get from banks and from federal programs, state programs, county programs, favors rental, not home ownership. The system doesn't favor home ownership. It's impossible to make it work financially on the front end. So they do rentals, and they get their money, like you say, they're out in 20 years. The second piece we've been watching very closely, we haven't seen that at large degrees in Minnesota yet, this idea that corporations are buying homes and lots, and then that's crowding things out. We're watching it really close. We haven't seen that take off yet, but it could be coming. It's there. Don't get me wrong. It's there. It's just not at a percentage that is really affecting the market yet. So,
it's prevalent in our community and surrounding communities.
Which is where? Where's your community? Columbia Heights. Okay.
And what we've taken steps to limit the number of rentals in neighborhoods, but it's a battle.
Yeah.
It's a battle.
You should come to a program with Martha Jolamoli, our economist, is in. She's an expert in this, and she'll have a much better answer for that than I'm telling you what she told me right now. It'd be better to hear it from her. So come see Martha give this presentation. It's going to be better.
I have one real quick question, and this goes for the senior Republicans too. For our state fair booth, I go to the fair 2 or 3 times, And the Republican booth has a really good, impact. But you go over to the lefties at the DFL, they are busy. And I hope that the senior Republicans and CAE can have some kind of program to get this kind of information out to the young people. We really have to reach them. Thank you.
Awesome. We will be at the fair on August 24th, on Saturday, August 24th. We're out there one day, so if you want to come find us right by the grandstand, that's where we are for one day. There's one in the back, too. Go ahead.
Hello. Well, I remember my question now. One thing is, was there anything, no question asked about what are you doing to budget? I mean, all of these young people look pretty affluent to me. And the other thing is, we have over $1 trillion in credit card debt. You didn't address the issue of debt at all. And that's what's really going to hit these young people.
No, the focus group did talk about budgeting, but you're right. We didn't do debt. That's really good. That's a good observation. We'll have to see what we can do on that going forward. Yeah.
Ed Pong from Lakeville, Minnesota. I have a question. When you had all these focus groups that you were surveying of these young people, was it pretty much a controlled group as far as if you knew if they were pretty much towards Republican thinking or Democratic thinking? Did you get a little bit of both, or was it pretty much all conservative Republican type people?
See, we shouldn't have taken one more question. He's exposing my focus group. You're yes. We reached out to our audience for the focus group, so I would not claim that it was across the line, partisan, balanced. It would be more right-leaning, a more right-leaning focus group. We didn't really get into politics. We were just asking about their lives, so I felt that was okay to, and again, focus group is a loose word. The poll is scientific and data. The focus group was just getting young people to talk about what was in the poll. So, no, it was not a balanced focus group. Go ahead.
Can I get on now?
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Bill, you know my question. I sent it to you last night about the quarter of $1 billion that was wasted by the state. Can you comment on that?
Oh, which one? I don't remember, Don.
The feeding.
The feeding our future.
It seemed like there's just not the outcry for this feeding the children that was squandered by corruption.
Well, can I call on my colleague who is to your left, 2 seats over, to answer that question? I'll put him on the spot. Bill Glahn has written more about feeding our future than anyone in the state, really. If you follow him on Twitter, you'll know. Bill, why don't you take a shot at that?
Well, the question that everybody asks, and we didn't really get an answer when the legislative auditor presented her report to the legislature, is who was held responsible for this? Did anybody in the state government? Right. Where does the buck stop? The answer is nobody was held responsible, and the buck never stopped. Well, it kept going out the door. It's $250 million is the estimate that the U.S. attorney put out. He always said it was a floor, not a ceiling. My estimate is closer to $500 million, twice that. $500 million from this scandal. So it's the case that nobody was held responsible, nobody was disciplined, nobody was demoted, nobody was fired. That would be insane. And the governor just said that it was a huge success because they called the cops. It turns out they didn't even call the cops called them. So you make a good point, Don. We have all of these programs, and Bill just mentioned another $150 million for people of color to purchase new homes. There's nobody minding the store. There's nobody performing oversight. Is not what they do, and we're paying higher and higher and higher taxes, and more of it is being sold. I wish I had a positive message for you, but it's interesting that no one's been held accountable, and that the idea of accountability has been rejected.
But but the people in government don't even seem concerned about it. I mean,
It's not their money, Don.
I know.
They have no incentive. There's no skin in the game. It's somebody else's money, and it goes out the door.
And Bill, one of the things in Carroll, Steve Anderson and I planned these programs. The topic today is about state issues. Next month we have Lonnie Leitner coming, and Lonnie's going to talk about, on a federal basis, the same kind of problems that you've exposed here at the state level. So thanks for coming next month.
Excellent. And my last comment, just my request, if I hope you come out and can see it again. I know it's going to be similar, but will be better. And my request would be bring somebody young. We need young people to see this. So cajole a kid or a grandkid or somebody young in your life to come and see this program, or encourage them to go see it. We need to get this message out, and we will be doing programming and marketing to young people with this data. But really appreciate you guys being my guinea pig, so we could see if the thing worked. The technology worked. You guys were awesome to get all that technology to work, and I really appreciate all the things that you guys do every month. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Bill, for letting us be your guinea pigs, and excellent information. Our video recording of this meeting should be available sometime in the next week. We will send out an e-blast just to the same people we send our notification email out saying the video is now up and available. That was a lot of information, some good statistics, some good charts. You'll be able to review it on the video, show it to your child or grandchild so that they can see what has been happening here in Minnesota. As mentioned, our next meeting is August 13th. That is primary election day. I know a number of you are election judges. We'll miss you, but you'll be able to see the video recording of that. Our featured speaker, as Don mentioned, is Lonnie Leitner from American Majority. He's going to be talking about the key issues of 2024. We'll hear from additional endorsed candidates for the Minnesota House. We'll finalize our recruiting for the state fair booth. It's been suggested that we try some optional seating, and we may do a trial run next month of seating by city here at the tables. It'll be optional, but we'd like to try that so you have a chance to meet other people from your general neighborhood and see how that goes. If you don't like it, we don't have to continue it, but maybe try that every other month situation. Now, are there any guests or first-time visitors who would like to be introduced? There was someone over here who wanted to be introduced. Just a minute, please, for the microphone.
I'd like to introduce my Starbucks friends, April and Tom, here for their first time.
Thank you so much. And what city are you from? Starbucks?
They live in Edina now.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Pam Morgan. I'm from Minneapolis.
Thank you, Pam. Happy to have you here. Are there others who are first time or have a guest?
I'm Evelyn Burke from Bloomington.
Welcome, Evelyn.
And I'm Kari Friel, also from Bloomington.
I didn't catch your name. Say again. Hold the mic real close to your mouth.
Kari Friel.
Thank you. Welcome. Happy to have you here. Other first-timers or guests? Hope to see you again. I encourage each of you to... Oh, there's one more guest, sorry.
Hi, Lori Lundgren from Carver County.
Hi, Lori.
Hi. Can I ask Bill one more question?
Catch him after the meeting if you would.
Very
good. And I know we also had Judd. You want to introduce yourself? Oh, Judd. Sorry, we got one more here, and then we'll have Judd.
Hi, I'm Sharon Berg, and I'm from Chaska, Carver County, and I really enjoyed the program today. You guys do great work. I'll see you again.
Welcome. Glad that you made the drive.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Judd Mowry. I had been active for, well, come to think of it, for 60 years in the party. And I bowed out about 5 years ago when I got the Kiss of Death, a Lifetime Achievement Award at the convention. And so I had not been involved for 5 years. But I am now back in the saddle because I have found that the consequences of this election are immense. I urge you all to talk to your friends and family and acquaintances to get them to try to change the tide.
And thank you, Judd. Judd has volunteered to be our interface to the CD6 area, so we were very happy to have that happen. Any other, we got more back here. Great.
Hello, I'm Bob Gust, and I'm the Republican candidate for House Seat 50B, which is West Bloomington. Thanks for letting me be here.
Thank you, Bob. And we'll hear a longer speech from Bob in September. I hope you had a chance to meet with him one-on-one. Is there anyone else? All right. Moving on, I highly encourage you to look for ways to get involved with candidates. All the candidates need funding to help them meet the match so that they can gain the state money that you've already paid into your taxes, and the state will pay it back out to candidates. If you can help by, making phone calls, by making text messages. If there's a parade and you can't walk in the parade, maybe you could offer to be the sag wagon, have the water and the cooler and drive people back to the starting point after the parade. I encourage you to sign up for newsletters. The City of Minneapolis has gotten very active. They have a new BPOU. I have a copy of their newsletter up here. Great information about where the candidates are going to be, what's happening in the city. CD3 is also putting out a newsletter every couple of weeks, every week, that says where are the candidates appearing, who can use your help. SD 56 down in the Lakeville area has a candidate forum coming up, I think, this Thursday. If you're in that area and need the information, I have copies of those newsletters up here. There will be a U.S. Senate primary debate for the Republican candidates. The Minnesota Federation of Women are hosting that debate in St. Paul, and that is July 18th. They are selling tickets at a very modest price. They just want to make sure they don't overflow their auditorium. It will also be live streamed on Alpha News. And so Royce White, who is our endorsed candidate, and Joe Fraser, who is opposing him in the primary, will be debating on July 18th. On a sad note, one of our great founding members, Barb McGinnis, had passed away. Her celebration of life will be remembered at the memorial service this Friday. That's July 12th. Service is at noon. Visitation is at 11. It's at the Fort Snelling Historic Chapel. I have a printout here with more information about that service if you would care to attend. More information about all of these announcements up on my table. You can also rewatch the video. And now, are there any 30-second announcements? People who need to make a quick announcement about a meeting. We've got one back here, and then we'll come back up to Judd. One back here first, please.
Ron Extam from Bloomington. I just want to announce that we got enough signatures to put ranked choice voting repeal on the Bloomington election.
Martin Johnson here. I got the information on the back table on the people who unfortunately volunteered to serve in the armed forces are now stationed at Fort Leavenworth Barracks and are forgotten. So it would be somebody to defend them. Thank you.
Thank you. Was there another one up here? Yes.
The town hall for Taylor Rahm is going to be Thursday at the meeting point in Rosemont. It's not 56 is Rosemont, Apple Valley area, and a little bit of Egan. So if anybody's interested, I left brochures in the back.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Dale?
Hi, I'm Lyondale Johnson. That'll be my name on the ballot this fall in Bloomington on the east part of Bloomington. Bob is the west part of Bloomington, so you're in my part right now.
Okay.
And just like him, all of us, especially us brand new people who have never done this before, we need 30 people to give us money registered at the state system, or we do not get $7,200 in our campaign. We have to have that by the 20th of this month. So if you want the House to flip to Republicans, you have to open your wallet and you have to talk to us.
Thank you very much. And Judd, did you have an announcement you wanted to make?
On a sad note, a great Republican and activist and a wonderful individual, Ed Fiore. He passed away on Sunday evening. The details of his memorial service are yet being worked out by the family, but Ed had been exceptionally active for decades, he and his wife, Eileen.
Thank you so much, Judd, for that information. And we will close our meeting with our door prize drawing. All your tickets are here. I know that John promised each of you that you had the winning ticket. If your ticket ends with 2799, I have a door prize for you. 2799, are you here in the room? All right, come up, I'll hand you your door prize. And Al? If you're end at 2800, so just whoever was right after you, 2800. Okay, come on up. I have your door prize. Thank you. We'll see you August 13th.
Republican Seniors of Minnesota. For more information, please visit republicanseniorsmn.com. While visiting our website, you can click on the video tab to watch videos of past meetings. Also, look for other tabs that bring you to our live player and other special video programs. Or on YouTube, search for Republican Seniors of Minnesota.